It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. We are live and in charge right here on S3. We're about to dive into a conversation that really, really is important. South Africa continues to face some of the highest rates of gender-based violence in the world, and behind every statistic is a woman with a real story. This year, 5FM is stepping into 16 Days of Activism with a national campaign that does something simple yet powerful. It listens, okay? 16 Days, 16 Voices brings forward the lived experiences of women across the country, sharing their stories just before the 11 a.m. news every single day. These are raw, unfiltered testimonies that remind us that GBV doesn't live in headlines alone. It lives in homes, workplaces, and communities. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome, joining us to unpack the heart behind this initiative, is Stephanie B., the voice anchoring 5 mid-mornings and one of the key drivers of this campaign. Please give her a warm Expresso welcome, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning and really shedding light on this important conversation. I mean, first things first, what inspired you to team up with 5FM to shed a light on this entire initiative?
Well, obviously, I think 16 days is something that's been going around for a very, very long time. It's been going for very many years. And we've had different campaigns of varying successes when it comes to impact. I wanted to create a campaign that was about more than just abstract statistics. I think we hear the stats a lot. I think we hear 1 in 9. I think we hear a lot of stats, a lot of numbers. And numbers are good and they serve a purpose. But what I wanted to do is to actually give South African women a voice who might never have had their stories heard before. Some of the biggest cases in South Africa do obviously make it to media, and we hear about them and we talk about them. But for the average South African woman who does go through GBV, her story is never heard, and no one listens. So I wanted to create a platform where we did kind of stop and listen, and it was about those individual women and their stories rather than just about the abstract sort of statistics.
And I mean, we may be in the entertainment space, right? But at the end of the day, these are real stories. There are real people behind them. And I can imagine for you and your team, hearing them every single day must be so heartbreaking. Are there any sort of stories that have stayed with you? What has the reception been like since starting this initiative?
There are so many stories that stay with me, even as you're speaking. I'm getting sort of full body goosebumps. Recording the stories with a woman is obviously a very difficult thing. I'm asking women to be vulnerable on a national platform and to tell stories that maybe they've never actually told to the media before. And asking them to be vulnerable and sincere like that has already been quite difficult. And then to hear those stories, some of the most violent and gruesome acts that have been committed against women and children in South Africa. And for a lot of these women, their stories start with their children, when they're babies, when they're 5 years old in the home. For a lot of the women we're speaking to, their first abuser was their father sometimes, or a trusted family member. So it's been really difficult. But I think it's important to hear those difficult stories. So even when I'm on air, we have the stories going, I go, I'm giving you a trigger warning, obviously, because this is touching on a very sensitive and very intense subject in South Africa. But if you are struggling, please still try and listen. I think that's the whole point, is that I wanted to give those women a chance to speak without interruption. This is not about me telling you what you should be saying. This is about me sitting back and listening to your story.
Giving you a safe space to fully express yourself. And I'm pretty sure there is the opportunity of telling your story anonymously.
100%.
So it truly is quite safe. And as you mentioned earlier, GBV does thrive in silence. So opening our voices and our mouths and our ears to listen to people's stories can inspire someone else. This is real change on the ground. What do you hope the impact of this entire initiative will be, the ripple effect of it all?
I'm hoping that the ripple effect of specifically 16 Days, 16 Voices is that women or girls or anyone who is suffering through GBV can hear a story and go, I don't have to stay in this scenario or this position anymore. I can reach out for help. These women's stories, they're survivor stories. they've lived to tell the tale. A lot of them have sought help through some of the amazing organizations in South Africa that do specialize and help women getting out of these kinds of situations. So I just really want anyone who has heard anything or has heard a story to realize that you don't have to stay. There are options for you. Get out, reach out for help, and violence really does thrive in silence. And the more we speak about this, the more we can help.
Yeah. And many young women are watching right now as well who probably also stay silent because you want to shy away from the stigma. You don't want to be the face of activism or the face of any sort of a form of abuse because you believe it takes away from who you are. But I'm also here, inspired by you, to say that you don't have to allow these circumstances to define who you are and what your life's mission and purpose is.
Yes.
There is help. And through your initiative, through your platform, there are other voices, other women who are sharing their stories, and you can take heed of those stories and inspiration to also speak out. You can escape or you can leave an abusive situation. Before you leave, to the young women watching right now, what message would you want to say to them?
I would just really want them to know that they're not alone and that they don't have to stay quiet. There are people who are literally ready, willing, waiting to help. Try and reach out the second that you can. We have had so many instances where women have been listening to our stories, and young women, and have gone, oh, maybe I should just stay, maybe things will get better. And they hear the stories and go, no. Actually, things are probably going to get worse. So we've actually helped a number of women out of terrible situations by putting them in contact with amazing organizations. So I just want you to know that you're not alone and that you don't need to carry the shame by yourself if you are feeling shame, because unfortunately a lot of survivors do feel shame. As a survivor myself, it doesn't have a face, it doesn't have a name, it doesn't have an age, an identity, it doesn't have a religion, a race, it has nothing. This is something that all South African women are currently going through. And just take heed in the fact that like a little bit of courage could literally change the trajectory of your life. And get out as soon as you can. Reach out for help. We're waiting to help you.
We're here. Oh, Stephanie B, thank you so much for that moment of vulnerability as well from you. And I think that it offers a lot of women some comfort to know that people who occupy the spaces that you do are here and are willing to help, have walked the walk. So you really are operating from a point of heart, and we truly appreciate that. Thank you for coming through to your Feel Good Breakfast show. We will be tuned in, okay, on 5FM, and come back soon, okay?
Oh, thank you.
I hope that you have taken inspiration, ladies and gentlemen. Please do visit womenforchange.co.za for survivor support.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Now, this morning we've been having such incredible conversations, especially around the fact that, yes, we're going to take a stand, not only for 16 days, but even beyond. But of course, 16 days, 16 voices. It doesn't only share stories, it honors the women who survived them. Now, one of those voices belongs to Melise Jogiet, whose journey began in a childhood marked by fear and also continued into a marriage where the cycle of violence, of course, repeated.
Absolutely. Now, today she uses her story and her advocacy work to fight for women whose lives look painfully similar to her own through her organization, Women for Change. Now, her voice represents thousands of women who've experienced something similar, or often hidden, dismissed, or maybe even unheard. And I think this is a conversation we are dying to bring to the forefront. For being brave, I want to thank you. For being honest, I want to thank you. And for being on this couch live in front of Mzansi, I want to thank you even more. How are you doing this morning, Melise?
I'm very well, thank you.
Awesome. I see the purple nails.
Yes.
Changes here. You guys have really been at work, hey?
Well, yeah, the work doesn't end, right?
Yeah.
This is 24 hours a day, every day of the year. I mean, 16 Days of Activism is a small burst in the amount of work that we have and the amount of cases that we have to deal with every day.
Sure. And thank you for really advocating for this and really essentially putting your lives on the line every single day for the voices that are unheard. We do appreciate it. But as we know, 16 Days, 16 Voices is what we're focusing on right now. So what was it like for you to see that, placing survivor stories like your own even at the center of a national platform like even Stephanie B has provided on 5FM?
It's been interesting because I think from a personal perspective, a lot of people don't know until they hear it. But at the same time, it's also resonated with so many people because abuse is so hidden.
Right.
We only speak about the violent aspect. And actually, there's a lot that happens prior to the violence. We don't recognize emotional and psychological abuse in South Africa. We don't recognize financial abuse. So the more that I tell my story separate from the work that I do, so many people come forward and say, but that's happening to me. I didn't realize that was even abuse. So it's really opened, I think, a lot of people's eyes.
Sure. And I think maybe opening up people to understanding what's actually really truly going on. And especially when we talk about people that are maybe dealing with this daily reality, what would you wish that South Africans maybe knew with regards to what it's really truly like dealing with going through and facing something like GBV? I mean, it's more than a conversation, more than something you can just express, but hopefully you can bring this into words somehow.
I think for most people, you just feel crazy. The community makes you feel crazy. Your experience makes you feel like you're imagining half of what's happening.
As
to
in
you.
crazy, as in like doubting yourself or the
Yes,
reality of it?
every single day. Because you don't really know what's actually going on yourself. So the experience is like trying to wake up in the morning and hoping that everything's going to be calm that day.
Sure.
And then figuring out that you're not the one creating the chaos, but being reminded every day that it's your fault.
Jeez.
If you go through that for years, not only the psychological damage, but the healing process after that is twice as long as the abuse experience itself.
Yeah,
Can you
my
imagine
goodness. I mean, I've heard the story time and time again in a country where, for example, the justice system isn't even there to support women, you know, and the way our environment is set up is also not there to support victims or survivors. There's victim blaming. So I know that these stories are so important, but so is support for them as well. So when it comes to work for Women for Change, what kind of help do survivors actually need, you know? I would say even beyond emergency assistance, how can we create an environment that they feel held?
I think most people don't realize that emotional support is actually first and foremost.
Sure.
Most of the cases that we deal with, people don't actually need a solution right off the bat. They need to know someone believes them. They need to know that they are not the crazy one in the situation. Emotional support, even in my personal coaching I've seen, has taken people far further than the system ever will. Because at the end of the day, the healing is the thing that helps you get along, right? Move along and get to where you need to get. That, in my experience, has been the same thing. From homelessness to where I am now, emotional support is literally the only thing that kept me going.
Sure. And something that I'm so grateful that you've somehow taken and turned into a power when it comes to your voice, when it comes to the impact that you're creating. What would you say to many others out there that are possibly going through this, rebuilding right now, trying to heal? What message can you share of maybe encouragement? Because I know you are continuing to heal. You've come from a very, very dark place, but yet you're using it as a light to shine on not only yourself, but for many others that absolutely need it right now. What words could you say to them? And maybe just sharing with them directly would be absolutely valued.
I think the most important thing to recognize is that this isn't the end of the road. It feels like it. It feels like you're about to die every day when you're in the middle of it, especially for those of us who everything has been ripped away from. But it's not the end of the road. And I know those little words don't mean much, but that's why we are here. That's why we walk people through these journeys, to ensure that they don't have to suffer alone. Because we only grow, learn, and heal through community. And that's exactly why our community exists.
Sure.
Power.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, for using your platform for good. As we said at the start of this interview, it's so incredible to see that, yes, it's tireless work, but the needle's slowly moving on a national level, of course, with even President Cyril Ramaphosa acknowledging that it is a state of national disaster. So we hope you, and we wish you all the best with the rest of your advocacy work. How can people continue to support Women for Change?
Amplifying the work. I mean, we tell not only survivor stories, but femicide cases we share every single day, and they are heartbreaking. But also, I think people don't realize that NPOs survive with donations if they are not funded. A lot of the NPOs in South Africa are trying to survive on the bare minimum, and we're supporting people because we have to, right? I think people need to take a little bit of a deeper look into what it is we actually do and find ways to support in that way, because we also have to raise our families, especially those of us who are survivors, right? So understanding the work and what goes into it and why supporting both financially, online and sharing the content is important.
Sure. Worthy opportunity, Mzansi, to step up right now, be a part of something incredible, a part of impact and a way to change. You can do exactly that by being a part of maybe assisting, maybe contributing or just showing up and sharing what you can with this organization. But a heartfelt thank you to both Stephanie and of course Melise for this morning. Honesty and clarity. We're talking about 16 days, 16 voices, which reminds us that change starts when we stop looking away and start listening. Now, the insight and the courage that we've experienced today challenges us to move from awareness to active responsibility this December, and I think going forward into 2026. And long after this campaign ends, I want to be celebrating moments like this, not talking about the tragedy, but talking about the success, the fight, and the light that we get to celebrate. Melise, I really, truly appreciate you, and I'm going to send you energy to carry on doing the Lord's work and create miracles as you go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Absolutely appreciate you.
Oh, man. Okay, we'll take the shortest break, Mzansi, and we'll be back straight after this, but a lot to think about and digest, and we'll see you straight after this.
All you can make